Welcome to my birthday and Death Day celebrations. Today is the 29th of July. It's a very auspicious day. It's a full moon, and it is the day that I've reached my 66th birthday, 66 being a master number, and one in which I have been, I'm not sure what the word is. I find myself in a strange situation doing this live video, even stranger having brought out a book about death, and even stranger to have a book about loving death. So as we go through the next 40 or 50 minutes or so, there are a few things I would like to share with you as part of what I call my Death Day celebrations. And in exploring death, I started exploring death 15 years ago in meditation one morning when that thought popped in, and it wouldn't leave despite my best efforts to allow it to come and allow it to go. And so I ended up reading many books, most of 100 books on every aspect of death. And I have found that in relation to death, and really maybe only discovered this in the past few months, that my approach to death comes from two different levels. It comes from the human level, the human space, that the human experience that I'm having, but it also comes from a higher consciousness space. And so much of what I found myself writing in the book, half it maybe is from the human side and half it is from the higher consciousness side. And so as I speak here now, and usually when I'm speaking about that, sometimes it's from a very human level, the human experiences, the emotions, the pain, the grief, the sadness, the fear. And also at other times when I am more aware of my higher consciousness, of the spiritual energy or being that I am, I speak from that place. And it is a different place to come from. And so as you're listening, or as you consider your own death and your own approach to death, you will, if you stand back to examine where am I coming from, you may be coming from a human place, or you may be coming from a higher spiritual place. And so one of the things we're going to do is to see if we can move a little bit into that higher spiritual place as we progress through these celebrations. It took me a long time. I'm a little bit outside my comfort zone in looking to celebrate death, and I can smile about it because I find it is beyond my comfort zone. It's where I come alive and where we all come alive. If we keep doing the same thing, the same approach to everything, we may be in our comfort zone, but we're also missing out on the wonderful, exciting adventures that we chose to have when coming to this life. So from the human aspect, the starting point really is, I suppose, going back to a book by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross on death and dying, where she had 5 stages of death and dying, and which are often applied to 5 stages of grief. And there are things like denial, bargaining, depression, acceptance is the last one. And for me, when I was looking at those and reading about those, to end at acceptance, I've just got a very strong sense that these were all almost coming from a place of reaction to something that appeared to be bigger than us. And so in looking, and in Death You Gotta Love It, the book, I have written about the 5 stages of loving death. But the first stage of loving death is allowance, just allowing your whatever it is you're feeling about death to be, and allow death itself to be, and not to be attributing some characteristic to it or some quality to it that it doesn't necessarily have. Death only has those qualities and characteristics that you attribute to it. So when you allow death to be, you're standing back from the event, and you're standing back from your emotions around death and your feelings and approach to death. And once you do that, it brings you into a place of peace. Subtle peace, but it's an inner peace, because now you're not reacting or responding to this. You're choosing how you want to be. You're being proactive in your approach to death. And in life as well as in death, I have found that the best way for me to move from fear to love is to start reciting or listing things that I am grateful for. So you may have a great gratitude practice. I have a practice every morning where I list 5 things I am grateful for. And once you are in a place of expressing gratitude for something, it shifts you into a place of love. You cannot be in a place of fear. But if we love something and really love something, there comes a time, a place of joy in our appreciation of it, and a place of celebrating it. And in the celebration of death, I am celebrating the shifting or the moving into a different state of being. And I'm really speaking here now from, I suppose, a spiritual perspective, or a perspective of the higher consciousness that I am and that we all are, except that we sometimes don't remember that that's what we are. And so the celebrating of death is the celebration of returning home, of remembering where we came from, of remembering that not only did we choose to come to Earth at this time to have experiences, but that on another level we choose the way that we would leave this earthly experience and move on to what I call home, or to our more higher level of consciousness. So I firmly believe that we are all, on some level, we are all one, but that oneness filters down into our individuality, our individual selves. And that individual self, I call the infinite self on a higher level. And that infinite self on a higher level has decided to come to have these earthly experiences that we're all having, that I'm here speaking to you and you are here listening. And so it is a choice that we made. And at times I ask myself, and people have been maybe not too happy with me, saying I didn't choose to come here, I didn't choose all the experiences. And that really is back to choosing from a human perspective. On a human level, it is very clear and it can be very obvious why you would not choose some of the traumatic and terrible experiences that people have, or that maybe you have had. But from the higher consciousness realm and where you originated, this is just one of many lifetime experiences. So we come here many, many times to have many different experiences. And so the experiences that we have in this lifetime are ones that we decided we would have just to see how we would respond to that experience. And so in this event of celebrating death, I would normally have a list of a prompt list in case I got stuck. And for some reason, I kept being told or hearing from either my higher consciousness or those people who are guiding and promoting me, speak from the heart. This isn't about the head, this is about the heart space. So my heart goes out to each one of you in what I am saying, and hopefully that it will touch you and make this life and the ending of this life a little bit easier, a little bit more comforting, and a little bit more loving, just more love. So there is a chapter in the book that was released yesterday, In Death You Gotta Love It, called Happy Deathday. And as I said already, it pushed me beyond my comfort zone. You know, as I was moving through over the last 10 years or so, moving through the different aspects of death and my different feelings and fears and every emotion that I may have had around death, as I was moving through those, there was only one logical conclusion at the end, and I didn't really want to go there. But I'm here now, and you're here with me. So thank you for being part of this journey. If you weren't here, I wouldn't be here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the chapter of Happy Deathday from the book Death You Gotta Love It. The chapters in the book are quite short, but it could be 5 or 10 minutes. I don't know how long it'll take. So just please bear with me. And as I read to you, chapter 25, Happy Deathday. You were born to die. Your birthday is your death day. If you were not born, you would not die. We celebrate birthdays to acknowledge our coming into the world. Yet we mostly avoid the fact that birthdays are a reminder that leaving this world is inevitable. As you age, you become increasingly aware that your lifespan in this body is limited. Some people avoid celebrating their birthdays as it is a reminder for them that their body is getting older and will at some stage be no more. Life is to be celebrated. Death is a continuation of life, and death as a continuation of life is also to be celebrated. Avoiding celebration diminishes your life force. Taking every opportunity to celebrate life makes you feel more alive. When you celebrate death, you become even more alive as you are celebrating your infinite nature that will exist when the physical body is no more. Changing your birthday to your death day is an act of recognizing the beauty and the celebratory nature of birth and death. Each year on the anniversary of your birth, hold a Death Day celebration. Bake a Death Day cake and light a candle to represent the light within you that will move on to another dimension after this body ceases to be. Ask people to send you Death Day wishes and a Death Day cards. Becoming comfortable with your death brings great joy and a more vibrant approach to life. In the words of the Roman philosopher Lucius Amadeus, the day which we fear as our last is but the birthday of eternity. So invite friends to come and participate in the celebration. Have them sing a Happy Deathday song to celebrate your comings and goings into and from this lifetime. If celebrating your death day on your birthday is too much of a jump for you at this moment, then you choose another day on which to celebrate your death. That way, you get to have 2 celebrations of your existence in the one year. Choose a day that you think would be a good day for you to die. You could choose an auspicious day in your culture's calendar, such as one of the Celtic festivals of light, or Diwali, the ancient Asian Lantern Festival Day, or the winter solstice, or any day that appeals to you. If you are brave enough, you can also choose the year. Given that the average lifespan in the Western world is around 80 years, choose a year between 80 and 90 years from your birth year and see that as your death year. If you're already over 90 years old, use your imagination. As you read this, you may feel the closeness of death. Feelings of anxiety, dread and fear may arise as you consider choosing a year in which to die. These feelings are to be welcomed. Once you become aware of them, you can focus on them. Feel the fear and do it anyway. And in recognizing the emotions that you have around death, you can choose to change any that are not love. In doing so, you are taking another step towards loving death. A happy death follows a happy life. To be in a position to look forward to and celebrate your death, you may wish to consider making some adjustments to how you live your life. You can find inspiration from poets, mystics, artists, playwrights, and spiritual teachers who have often touched on the happiness in death. Leonardo da Vinci said that, as a well-spent day brings happy sleep, so a well-spent life brings happy death. Mahatma Gandhi said, live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. And Mark Twain wrote that the fear of death follows from the fear of life. A man who lives fully is prepared to die at any time. Focusing on a happy death creates a happy death. Adopting a celebratory approach to death will bring you closer to having a joyous death as you enter another dimension on your journey. Celebrating the death of the person is celebrating them being born into their new way of being. Celebrating your death is a gift to yourself, and also a gift to humanity in challenging and changing society's attitudes to death. As you will not be around in physical form to enjoy the celebration of your passing, do it now. Organise your death party. If you're not sure about celebrating your death day on your own, join with a friend and celebrate both your deaths on the same day. You could even organise a party where everyone attending celebrates their death day. How fun would that be? Death Day is a rarely used word. It is so rare that it doesn't show up in Microsoft's word spell check. However, it is found in some English dictionaries. According to dictionary.com, Death Day means the day or the anniversary of the day of a person's death. The death day we are talking about here is different, as it is in anticipation of your death rather than remembrance of it. So your death day is the first day of the rest of your life. Your death day is today, because your death day is every day. When you fully grasp your death day concept, it can stop you in your tracks and cause you to pause and consider how you choose to be today. And the ultimate choice is love. Choose to love today. Choose to love everything that is happening. Choose to love every moment of today and every day. And have fun with what you choose. Experience the joy of life and the joy of death. And when you are fully comfortable with your death day, choose to share your comfort with others. For you are sharing love. You are choosing love over fear. You are choosing to see death as it is meant to be seen, as a shift in awareness and existence, as your doorway to freedom, as the greatest gift of the meaning of life. So just as the birthdays are a recognition of the passing of time, death days are a recognition of transcending time. Time is a concept here in the physical world. The more you focus and the more you are focused on time, the less you know and understand about your timeless nature. Celebrating your forthcoming death is a reminder that life always exists, that it just changes form. So celebrate your death. Happy Death Day to you. Thank you, everybody, for listening to that. So the other aspect of death is the concern that many people have that they will die alone. Nobody dies alone. Firstly, nobody dies alone because nobody lives alone. You were always being watched over. You were always being minded, guided by your guides, your angels, higher consciousness beings who are here to support you in your experiences here on earth, because it is not everybody comes to earth, and it is only the brave ones, I say, come to earth to have the experiences that we're having and see how we would choose to respond. Also, there are accounts I have come across, and I have written about some of them in Death You Gotta Love It, about people who on their deathbed see their relatives coming to them. There's one story of a man who was dying, and his son was a priest at his bedside, and he said his father sat up in the bed and reached out and started shaking hands with different people, naming them, his deceased brothers, parents. Nobody else in the room could see them, but he clearly was seeing people who were coming to help him transition. And there's another account of a lady back in the early 1900s who was very ill, dying after complications in childbirth, and she was being attended to by Dr. Barrett, the husband and wife. The matron of the hospital was there, and she again started seeing her relatives. She says, "Oh, father is here," and she could see them up in the top left-hand corner of the room. And she actually, even her husband stood in the way at one stage, and she says, "Stand back out of the way, I want to see my family who were coming for her." And then she had a bit of a shocked look on her face, and she said, "What is my sister doing there?" Because she wasn't aware. She was so ill that her sister had died 2 weeks previously, but she hadn't been told. They felt she was too ill to tell her. But she, in her moment, shortly before dying, could see that her sister had already passed. So there is the possibility that you will die alone does not happen. And the possibility oftentimes that you will have, when you hear of people having what appear like horrible deaths, doesn't always happen either, because in their accounts, particularly with Mike Newton's work, and the hypnotherapist with between life sessions, that many times when people are about to experience what we might consider an unpleasant death, that they leave the body, their spirit, their energy leaves the body. And so in consideration of death, and I have considered many, many different aspects of it, but it's mainly a consideration of life. The book starts, and I start with children who remember choosing their parents before they were born, identifying even what color the hotel was where the parents were when they were conceived, that there is a stream of life force energy, and that this life that we're experiencing from birth to death is just a very, very small snippet in the full story of who we are and what our life is about. Always, well, in birthday celebrations anyway, there's usually an exchange of gifts. Your gift to me is you just being here, being present. But one of my gifts to you, I want to share with you one of the energetic devices that I accessed a number of years ago when I was part of Holding the Light group, helping humanity transition through the really changing times since during and since COVID that we have all been going through. And I call it the vibration elevator. So I'm going to put this up on the screen, and you can follow along with me in how to raise your vibration so that you will move a little bit less in the depths of the human condition and a little bit more into your higher spiritual consciousness. So this here is the vibration elevator. It's one of the golden sphere energetics. This is a top-down view, so you visualize yourself standing on that golden sphere in the middle of that blue circle. And underneath you are two plates, a green plate and a red plate. And all around you are what are beams of light. And the beams of light create the elevator. So if you were looking from the side, it would look something like this. And you see yourself standing in the middle of that blue square on the golden sphere. And to activate this and to activate higher vibration, and I practice this every morning, actually, just to kick off my day and put me in maybe a slightly better space than I would be if I wasn't, if I didn't do this. So what you do is you visualize these two red plate and green plate underneath you, and you visualize them moving back and forth very quickly, just switching back and forth very quickly. So don't do this yet. I'm just going to count 3, 2, 1, and we'll all do this together. And after you do, I'll switch it for a few 10 seconds. I will tell us when to stop. And then you just allow your vibration to rise up through the elevator of light beams. So when you're ready, 3, 2, 1, switch the red and blue green plates underneath you very, very quickly. That's it. Allow your vibration to rise. Allow your vibration to rise and relax and let your energy lift. Stop the switching and now just be. You will rise up through the elevator to whatever level is appropriate for you to settle. And I'm not sure how many of you felt anything, but from here I could feel a sense of calm and peace settling over the group of us who are here. And if you're watching a replay, you will feel that energy settling as well. We're going to do this 2 more times. You do it once for every cell in your body. The cell that has its own consciousness, that is working to provide all the senses and all the functions that you have as a human being. So now visualize one of these as best you can under the billions of cells that are in your body, under each one of them. So you have billions of these. And we count 3, 2, 1, activate by switching the red and green plates back and forth very quickly. That's it. Keep it switching, keep going. And stop and allow the energy to rise. Feel the expansion, physical expansion in your body. Feel the light expansion in your body as each cell rises to its highest level of existence at this moment. Thank you. And the third time we're going to do this is for the collective group that are here and for anybody else who chooses to watch this video. So it's a collective. We're doing it underneath the group, however that means, probably underneath the earth at this stage, underneath us all, because we're in many different countries. So 3, 2, 1. Let's collectively switch this green and red plates back and forth very quickly. That's it. Raising the vibration of this group, raising the vibration of humanity, and raising the vibration of everybody who chooses to be a part of this, now or in the future. It's times like this I feel, as I said at some other workshops, some wise man or wise person said at one stage, don't speak unless you can improve on the silence. And there is, it's only because I'm here live on Facebook and hopefully YouTube that I am speaking, even though I could just sit here for the next 10 minutes and say nothing, just be in the wonderful higher vibration energy that we have all created. Thank you. That is my little birthday gift to you. I have done many interviews in the past couple of months in relation to death. And one of the most common questions I get asked is, will we be judged when we die? And the answer is, of course, typically yes and no. There is no one externally judging you, deciding what kind of a life you had, but you will consider how you responded to the different experience that you chose to have to see how you would respond. And the other question is, what will I experience well, I'm usually asked in the afterlife, but I don't use that term. I use the hereafter, because the afterlife implies that there is, that something stops at death. So I just call, before we come here, the here before. I call it what we are in now, the here and now, and then there's the hereafter. And in all the reading and research that I have done is that you will experience whatever it is that you believe that you will experience. So in life, we are creating, whether we realize we are creating in every moment. Every new thought, every thought we have is a new thought. Every word we speak is a new word or speech. And every action we take is a new action. But we rarely associate what we are doing as being creation. But everything we are is the energy of creation flowing through us. So it is flowing, it can be flowing from a human level, from a higher spiritual level, or from the source, the highest spiritual one from all that is, because each one of us is an aspect of all that is. And so, as an aspect of all that is, you are creating the life that you are living. You may not be able to easily join the dots between your thoughts and the reality of what manifests. But when you leave this third dimensional reality, your thoughts manifest immediately. And so in practicing and training for that, and even the concept of training for that is alien to many humans, maybe the most of humanity. death generally is not talked about. It's not seen. It's not considered really in the everyday, but yet it is something that we are all going to experience. And you have more influence over the type of death you experience, the way that you experience, and indeed the hereafter experiences that you are going to have. I've come across a number of spiritual teachers, advanced, maybe enlightened beings, if we call them that, who were able to determine or were able to declare when they would die. Lahiri Mahasaya, the great Kriya yogi, one day towards what might be considered the end of his physical life, he stood up, he turned around 3 times, he faced north, sat down in the lotus position and left his body. Emanuel Swedenborg, who back in the 1700s in Europe, announced the date and time of his leaving, and he left. And there are many other spiritual teachers, and I write about some more of them in That You Gotta Love It, who chose the moment that they would leave the body, that they were so aware of themselves as a higher consciousness being, that being in the physical body was a choice, and so that they were able to make the choice to leave the physical body when they felt that they had their work done. And nobody leaves, nobody dies before their time. On a human level, that can be difficult to understand, and when young children die or when relatively young people leave the body. But it can only best be understood in the context of the many, many, many different lives that we have. That for some reason, that what they came to experience, even if it was only for a few months or a few years, that they experienced all they came to experience and they would leave. So you will not die before your time. And indeed, I have many other books in my head, and at one point I used to worry a little bit about if I would get everything that I came here to shared. There's words in a poem by John Keats which goes something like, "When I have fears that I may cease to be before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain." And I mulled over that for a while and said, how am I going to get everything that I want to share out into the world? And then it's almost like I had a moment of insight, and I said, whenever I leave, that's when I will have everything done that I came here to do. I don't know when it will be. I have not yet become that advanced or enlightened that I can announce the date and time of my death. But in one strange way, I'm looking forward to it. And I can't fully explain why that is. But there is a sense of excitement about moving on to my next highest level of existence, wherever that may be. And I know on a deeper level that I have done this before. I know that all of you have done this before, and that you can do it again. And the moment of death, all the accounts from hospitals and hospices, the vast majority of them are that it is the most peaceful and beautiful experience. That the person who leaves, when they leave the body, they're almost always in a relaxed state. We have one little last act to sing. Happy Deathday to me. Again, as I said, I am entering uncharted territory here. It is not a commonly held belief in humanity or in human circles that death is to be celebrated. And I mean celebrated as an extension, as a part of life. And so I invite you to join with me in singing Happy Deathday to me. Happy Deathday to me. Happy Deathday, dear Tony. Happy Deathday to me. I thank you most sincerely for your friendship, your companionship, for you being here as part of this gift to humanity. Thank you. my glamorous assistant just dropped in her phone. I don't know why I don't see these comments. So we have another 10 or 15 minutes. What can you say about suicide? Yes. So I will be, people who choose suicide choose to leave. Now, I believe we all choose the moment at which we leave. But when from a higher consciousness, before we come in, we choose a number of different ways to leave. And as they present themselves, we either decide to take them or not take them. For example, about a year ago, there was a major airplane crash outside Delhi in India. There was over 260 people on it, and they all died except one man who walked away. And immediately I thought, oh, it wasn't his time, or he chose not to go at that time. So when we choose to die, or when we leave the body, we are choosing from a higher state of consciousness to move on, to go towards something. Whereas suicide is generally looking to escape from the genuine pain and hurt or trauma that people are experiencing in this life. So with suicide, there is no judgment. There is no judgment after death. But it's not a completion of the experiences that the person set out for themselves to have. There are some accounts saying that, well, you may choose to come back to have those experiences again. I just send love, and some of my best friends, choose to take their own life. And it's quite upsetting for people who are left behind. But we all have the free will to choose that, but we are suicide is almost always chosen from the human level to escape the pain that people are experiencing in this life. Whereas when it's time for you on a spiritual level or a higher consciousness to leave, you're moving on to your next highest level of existence. So a couple about suicide. So what music are you going to play? So I have started drawing up a playlist. One of my favorite songs is Forever Young by Bob Dylan for some reason. And that's a wonderful death funeral song or music to play. As I said, you can send me questions or queries afterwards. The whole process of me celebrating my death and the whole process of me writing a book about death, as I said already, was pushing me beyond my comfort zone. It was outside my boundaries. But for some reason, it had to be done, and it has to be done. And I don't fully understand. Sometimes always we've lived life going forward and only understand it looking backwards at it. I have many other books in my head, and I'm looking forward to writing some of them if I'm around that long. But every time I used to meditate in the morning, or I'd pause and contemplate on what book, or ask for guidance really from higher consciousness being as to what book am I to work on. And I was always getting do the death book, and I go, I'm not so sure about this. But it's done. It is there. I hope, if you do buy it and read it, please let me know what you think. For strange reason, and in as humbly as I can, it feels like there is a shift in humanity's consciousness in relation to death. There is, there's a Buddhist center near me, Daoshin Vera, and I attended an event there called Making Friends with Death. And I know of a shamanic center in another part of Ireland where they had an online training in many aspects of death, and they had a day on death that was fully booked out. They had to hold a second one. It's almost as if people, and there are death cafes starting to spring up, and people are starting to consider death and look at death and examine death in ways that we haven't done before. In many ways, I think death is the last great frontier for humanity, because we're shifting and we're moving into a higher vibrational state, into a higher state of spiritual being, and we're advancing in our consciousness. And so our consideration of death and our being here, even talking about death and celebrating my forthcoming death, my leaving this body to continue and to do whatever it is I will do when I'm there, it is part of the advancement of human consciousness, because it is about moving from fear to love. And always, they love more. The accounts, the stories that people who have died or had near-death experiences have come back, almost always they come back, and the one strongest message they're coming back with is to love more, to learn to love more, to see, can they be more compassionate, can they be more considerate of people, can they be more loving. And that, in choosing the title of the book, I looked at, okay, if we are to move from fear to love, what is the greatest fear that humanity has? Now, people who have had death experiences, most of them no longer fear death, that they know it's only a transition, so that they know that they will be moving to something described as more real than this world that we're in. And so you and me being here are part of this shifting a little bit of humanity's consciousness from fear to love. So thank you so much for your time, your friendship, the love that you are sharing in the world. And I lit a candle here before I started, and to end and culminate this celebration, we're going to blow out the candle. We already sang. Well, my singing voice is very poor, so here's the candle. And I'm going to end by blowing out the candle. So much love to you all. I look forward to seeing you whenever it is that we meet in person, whenever we meet online. Oh, I know there was something. I'm doing this here today. I cannot see anybody, any of you. And so if any of you are interested in exploring death more in a more private and intimate setting, I am holding a free webinar for a couple of hours on the 20th of August at 7 p.m. Irish time. So the same time, kind of time. And if you're interested, just let me know, drop me an email, send me a message on Facebook or Instagram, wherever it is you can find me. I would love for us to be able to see each other and to genuinely consider all aspects of death that we are thinking about or would like to know more about. So thank you very much for your time, and have a wonderful evening, morning, or day, whatever, wherever you are in the world. Thank you.